Well, hey y'all, getting ready to post this video, and I decided to sit back down and just talk about it for a minute. I'm a mess right now. I've been spending the morning washing the car, detailing it, engine bay, hatch, the interior, everything. Getting ready for a car show this Sunday, probably going to be the last one of the year. I don't know, maybe a couple more will pop up, but the season's about over. And this car has gotten filthy just sitting in the garage the last couple of weeks. And I haven't been doing a good job of putting the cover on it. So got dusty real fast and spent the last, 3.5 hours trying to clean this thing. So, but the video that this is attached to is probably something you'll be able to relate to. This was a project that in my mind, I legitimately thought it was going to be a 2 to 3 hour total project. Take my time and get it done right. However, it's now been a couple weeks. It's cost me a couple of $100 when it should have only been, $30. And what I've done is I wanted to replace the door wire harness grommets, the sleeves that protect the wires that go from the body of the car into the door. This car, it's been painted white before I bought it, and the people that painted it did not apparently mask off much. They painted right over these grommets. And every time I open the door, it bugs the crap out of me. I hate looking at it. It's got some paint on it, some's cracked off, of course. However, there's no way I was ever gonna get it all the way back to original. Finally got around to putting them on. I've procrastinated quite a bit. I've actually had to look up the invoice through this whole thing, and I actually paid for them, bought them back in, I think, February of this year. They were originally supposed to be a project, simple project for last winter, and I just put it off, never got around to doing it, and finally wanted to get it done. And if I had it to do all over again, I'm not sure that I would have at this point. But you're gonna see why coming up. Just understand this video goes over about 2 weeks. Leave me some comments after you look through this and watch it. Let me know if you've had the same problem, any of you that's changed those grommets before. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what years are different than others, but definitely there's a difference in the size of the openings that these grommets fit into over the years of this Mustang. It's not a 79 to 93 range, I don't think. So anyway, that's what I got. I hope you enjoy seeing some of my frustration, and maybe this will help somebody out there getting ready to do the same thing. So take it easy. Well, we're back at it. Next project, something that has been bugging me ever since I bought this car almost 5 years ago. We're gonna attempt to replace these door harness grommets that have been painted over when this car was painted. You can see in the past I replaced the little rubber boots on your interior light switch, but this thing is not gonna be fun. But let's get started. So I got a new pair of these door grommets for your pass-through harnesses. They are a little different from one side to the other. You can see one end, you got a wider space right here than on this end. And so I've looked on the door, and the wider spot here goes towards the door end, and then this more narrow spaced before these ribs will go towards the body end. And so I've gotten started on the driver's side. You can see here's the one that was in there. So again, the wider end was towards the door, the narrow space end was into the frame, the body. I used tin snips to cut this one out because getting this off made it a lot easier to get the harness pulled out from inside the car. And so out of the plastic, you can see a little more close up It should line up about like this with the old one, and looks about right to me. Now I've had to go through all the trouble of taking the door panel out and the speaker out because I have ran wires through the door to my speakers, and I didn't want to cut them and create a joint in the door well or inside the car. So I took all my door apart and to get to the other end of the speaker wires. And if you guys have ever seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I also have an LED light strip in my armrest. So in my armrest, this lights up with a toggle switch for my interior lighting. And so I had to take all this off also to get to that wiring that I had ran through the door in the past. Definitely did not time this right for when I decided to finally replace this grommet. Should have done it a long time ago. So in order to get these connectors through, I am attempting to use a big zip tie that I've put through the grommet, and then I've looped it kind of in these wires and on both sides of the connector, and then taped it down with some electrical tape. I sprayed some WD-40 inside the grommet, and I'm going to attempt to get it to squeeze through there so I don't have to unpin everything. Wish me luck. And just like that, it took about a whole 3 seconds, no problem. If you do this trick, just what I learned is be sure that you don't let this little point get caught in these ribs and maybe rip it. I did notice as I started to feed it through, it kind of snagged one, so I just backed it off a little bit and then was careful and just gently pulled everything through, and worked just fine. Well, it is the next day, and this grommet sleeve thing is kicking my butt. I'd walk away for a while, come back, and I cannot get this piece plugged into the stamped hole in the frame here. I can get part of it in, and I can't get it all in. Just can't reach it from inside or outside. So I finally called it quits last night, and I'm getting ready to start again. Today's plan of attack is to take a heat gun and kind of get it warmed up so it's a little more flexible. And then I'm going to put some this Ford, some of this stuff here, and it says good for interior squeaks and rubber plastic materials. So we're going to get it warmed up and then try again. Well, in the last 2 days, I've been trying to install this new door grommet sleeve, and I have tried everything I can think of, and I've tore up some of my paint. I've poked a hole into the sleeve by accident. I've got WD-40 all over. I've got wiring inside the kick panel tore apart, so I could try to get my hand up in there further. It will not install. So I decided to take the other one of these, this one here, which I haven't installed yet, and take the one I took out and start looking at them. And sure enough, well, let me get this camera set up. So if you can see that, 48.6. Now this is on the bigger end that goes to the door. And I'm measuring inside the gap there where it should fit around the hole that's stamped out in the door. So 48.4. If I take the new one, measure in the same way down the center line, get it inside the gap there, and 49.3. So within a millimeter of each other on that end. And that could just be my error for how you squeeze the calipers. Now, take the end that I've been struggling with. It's the smaller diameter end. Get it inside that gap. And on the factory one, I'm at 34.6. Try it again and get that in there. 34.9, so let's say 35. Take the new one on the small diameter end, get it down in the groove there, and it is 43.3, so almost 10 millimeters bigger diameter than the factory one that I took out. So it's no wonder I cannot get that thing to feed in or in that hole all the way around. You get about 3/4 of it and the other end will not go in. If you fiddle with that end, another end will pop out. So I don't see any way I'm going to be able to get this to lock in and keep moisture and water out from this harness. And after trying to think through the best way to handle this issue, I went searching for some old original better condition boots than what I had here. I've been looking on eBay and got a package in the mail today, and we're gonna open it up. So I didn't find any just the grommets themselves, but I did find a door harness. Had a little bit of damage to it, but the grommet was on there. It looked in pretty good shape from the pictures. So I may have a harness I don't really need, but got extra parts, I guess. And at first glance, looks like I made a poor decision. I've wasted some more money. Significantly different than the one that came out of my car. The grommet that was in my car is measuring almost 33.5 millimeters. I just bought off eBay is around that 45, 44 reproduction when I bought. It's 43. All right, I took an impression of the hole that goes into the body of the car, and I got some, some Play-Doh here, and this was left over from when I was checking valve clearance on pistons a long time ago. But yeah, keep the Play-Doh in your garage, you never know. I've also used it to ball it up and put on top of my intake when I close a hood and see how much clearance I have when the hood's shutting. But in this case, here's the impression of the hole that goes into the body of the car. And when I measure the diameter, I'm at about 31, 32 millimeters. So explain to me how these new grommets are supposed to fit in there when they're measuring 44 at the smallest diameter. All right, and it's about a week later since I started this. I decided, well, maybe there was in fact a change at some point in the body, in the holes and in the diameter of all this. And if a 91 is too big and the replacements that call out 79 to 93, well, I went backwards and I was able to order the pair of door harnesses for an 85 Mustang. Now, I've spent 30 bucks on the new ones, 35 on an older one that didn't work, and then 128 bucks or something I had to pay to get these harnesses when all I needed were these. So I've opened this, of course. I've got one off the harness that there's no rips or tears. And sure enough, this one measures and looks identical to the one that I took out of my car. So this, I have no doubt, is going to install back in pretty easily. So all of that to say, there is definitely a difference in these from at some point in time. I don't know what year it changed. It was a smaller diameter in my 87. Was it 89 model year when there was more changes going on with the car? That might be what makes the most sense, or 90. But we know 91 didn't help me. And so I'm getting ready to install this. I've got it cleaned up pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to use some of this vinyl rubber dressing and spray that down and then wipe it. Okay, I have been sitting down here for less than 30 minutes. And in that time, I've got the harness ran through the grommet. I've got then the harnesses ran through the body. I've got the harnesses routed down and plugged in. I've got the both ends of the grommet pushed in to their respective locations. I didn't need any tools, just use my hands and minus one little flesh wound. This is done now. Instead of 3 hours that I spent 2 weekends ago trying to put that new one in, and this one went in perfect. So time to button all this mess back up and then finally get to drive the car again. Now, if anybody's interested in a set of door harnesses from an 85, I've got both of those minus the grommets. If you have your own grommets but just have a bad harness, looks like this, this is what would feed into the car from the door. And then you've got your switch here and one other connector, which I'm going to assume that's for the door lock. Boom. And then the other one is the same deal. Don't know anything about them. I did not take them out of a car. I bought these off eBay just to get the grommets. And then I've also got this one. If anybody needs a 91 model, that would be non-power window and non-power lock. So, or I guess it has the connector for the door lock actuator and it has a connector for a speaker, and then that's it. And then it's been cut off on the end that would go into the car, but it has the original grommet on it. Maybe somebody wants it for parts, let me know.